So you're going to have other elements on part of your facade, and a few tips on other areas how to measure these. So windows. Okay, so windows are typically measured on a square foot basis, although one has to bear in mind that the square foot price of small windows is high and the square foot price of large windows is higher. It's because of all the engineering involved there. So it's good to group windows of certain sizes together. Now you'll see later on when we're building the estimate, that actually when you do a concept stage estimate, it's quite typical just to count up the number of windows, and your unit actually will be per number. So you'll have, you'll just count them up rather than a square foot basis. The material of the window affects the costs. These are typically wood, aluminium or vinyl. And the glass of the window also affects the costs. So you might have insulated glass, triple glazed glass. Also, other factors include whether the window is operable or not. This also affects the cost. It must be in the description that you're recording your quantity of that particular item. Okay, we're now going to look at finishes. So finishes again, these are usually measured on a square foot basis. So we're going to look at floor finishes and wall finishes. So floors, you could have anything from carpet to tile or to wood floor. To wall finishes, these could be painting to the walls, as simple as that. Could be tiles to the bathroom or the kitchens. All other coverings, wallpaper coverings to the wall as well. Okay, so we've now got a very simple example of a drawing and measurement for the floor finishes. We've got three types here. We've got flooring type 1 measured at 2,020 square feet, flooring type 2 measured at 1,389 square feet, and flooring type 3 in 2,281 square feet. It's very important here, you can see we've got three different types of colours. So you've got organisation here, it's clear what you're measuring. When you're actually carrying out the measurement, you measure it from the internal face of the external walls, and you can do it per room basis or per overall area of that floor type. This is from an on-screen takeoff. You can see it quite clearly, and it pulls up your quantities. So there's the error of margin of error is less so. The manual way would be a scale rule, and you just mark up your dimension sheet or the document that you're using with the quantities. So wall finishes, again, they're very simple to measure. Wall finishes are captured as square foot within the estimate. They're usually taken as a linear measure, then multiplied by the wall or partition height. Items such as windows and door openings are deducted from the square foot area if it's a schematic type of estimate or above, but again it depends on the project and the expectation of the level of detail you're going into in the estimate. Also, it's worth noting the cost of finishes to reveals working around the opening negates the saving from the area deduction. Common types of wall finishes: painting, all types of wall coverings, and on internal partitions. So the way you measure it on plan is, first of all, linear foot. You then multiply by the floor to the ceiling height to get the full square foot area. Now you've got to remember there's a few little tricks as you're measuring these items. If you're doing a partition, you're more than likely to get the full area, you're going to need to do both sides if it's the same material, particularly painting. So the square foot area then is multiplied by 2. This is to account for both sides of the partition. You'll just remember that it's not always the case, so sometimes you might have one material finish, so you don't do that all the time. So you can see here as an example, again, key that you've got different colours. If you're doing it by hand, you'd use a highlighter and you would mark up on the drawing as you're measuring the linear foot of the actual partition itself. Again, if you're doing it on screen, it will automatically put colours on it and it will add a bit of organisation there. So we've got here for this particular example, we've got partition to one side and one particular wall, and we've got partition to two sides on another wall. So first of all, we're going to do the partition with both sides. You measure the full length, and for this one it's 96 linear feet. You put that into your dim sheet or into your program, and you now need to know the height. So the height you'd get from the ceiling layout drawings or other details in the specifications or other design documents. Sometimes the architect can be helpful, and it can even be on the actual partition drawing itself. So here the height is 12 linear foot. Now we're doing both sides, so you can see here in the calculation it's 96 linear feet by 12 linear foot high by 2. Gives us a calculation of 2,304 square feet. It's that simple. Then we've got a partition that is going to be painted to just one side, so it's just one side again. Again, we've done the linear length, it's 37 linear foot by the height of 12 linear foot equals 444 square foot. So your total quantity for this particular takeoff for painting is now 2,748 square feet. It's that simple. So other common types of wall finishes can be fabric wrapped panels, wall tiles, pantry backsplashes, all part of internal partitions. Now these finishes can be expensive and should be measured with greater accuracy. Square foot of finish is usually measured on section when possible. And unlike measuring painting, voids and other areas where there's a break in the finish, such as storage units, these are deducted from the square foot area. So here we've got an example of a tile splashback. So we're looking at elevations here now. We've been looking at plans before, so we've got elevations. So we want to get the backsplash tile area above the kitchen pantry cabinets. It's a very simple square foot basis. On your on-screen takeoff, you'll literally just go around all the edges and it will give you a full area there of 62 square feet. Again, if you're doing it manually by hand with a scale rule, you would really just split that area up there in blue into different squares and oblongs. Keep it as simple as possible, and you'll get to that measurement there of 62 square feet. So just remember the way you record this, the description of it, the location of it is really important as you're doing your measurement. So measurement recap. Carefully review the full drawing pack, including specifications and other associated design information. Clearly and accurately record the measurement description. Check your scale on standard items such as doors. Review and check your work. So you must review your own work, that's very key. You need to make sure you're comfortable with it. And then it would be very good if you can get someone else to review your measurement as well and do spot checks. It's really important that you go through the drawing pack. Now sometimes you might see a drawing that you think is not relevant to the actual measurement you're doing. But I'll tell you now, every single drawing in that pack is really important and it's there for a reason. You get a lot more information by looking at all the other areas as well, such as the structural steelwork, design pack, and all the other engineering packs. It really does paint a full picture. So the examples I just gave you there were architectural items, and really, by looking at the structural items as well, you're going to be gaining a lot more information on the measurement itself.